could Omegamon happen in episode 2? Who knows? Like, what is going on? Welcome to Patages, your critically nostalgic tour through the Digimon anime. This week we're discussing Digimon Adventure: Digimon Adventure 2020, Episode 1, Tokyo Digital Crisis, aka Tokyo Digital Crisis Core, Final Fantasy VII Remake, aka Runaway Locomon. I'm your host, Jeff Ruberg, and I'm joined today by special guest / co-host, Ashley McDonald.
Yes, I don't know. I don't know what I am anymore.
Are you special guest now?
Yes.
Special in not being special?
Yeah.
But that's also special in a way.
It's all wacky world we live in these days, y'all.
Yes. So first off, I wanted to respond to some feedback we got after the last episode, which I released only 10 hours ago. So first of all, thank you so much. So it was the 022 episode about just where the podcast has been the last 2 years, and I really just want to thank everyone for outpouring of support after that. I also want to clarify a couple things. So I want to read some of the stuff people wrote in and thank people. So Ria on the site wrote, "So good to hear you're all around and relatively okay. I was honestly worried something terrible like a death had happened when there wasn't any announcements for a while." First off, thank you to everyone who over the last 2 years was worried about us, and I'm sorry that we made people worry about us.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to clarify, after having listened back to the episode while I was editing and stuff, I sounded so sad. Because I was talking about kind of the prospect of editing those episodes, which I still haven't gotten around to doing. And so I guess when I was listening back to myself, it sounded like it was an open wound, that I was currently really sad about everything. And it's not really. It's more that I don't want to go back and really reopen the wound to listen to those episodes right now. But in our day-to-day life, I think Ashley and I are both happy. Ashley and Asher have been dating for 9 months. I've been dating my boyfriend Eric for 15 months. So we're both happy. We're we're both friends still. I haven't really kept in touch with the podcast as a whole. Hasn't really kept in touch as a unit, but we're still on friendly terms and everything.
Yeah, Andrew tweets you all the time, doesn't he?
Yeah, Andrew and I still interact. I haven't seen Andrew in person since, but we still talk on Twitter and stuff.
Jeff and I did an escape room in December, January.
That was creepy.
Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah, so, and the other thing I wanted to clarify was that one of the points I wanted to get across the last episode, which I forgot to actually emphasize, was that the reason we were kind of radio silent and I wasn't tweeting or podcasting or thinking about Digimon much in the last 2 years wasn't because I was I hate Digimon now. I don't want it to seem like I was I hate Digimon, and now it's suddenly I like Digimon again. It was just that for a lot of the time Digimon was kind of I'd gotten burnt out from the podcast, and it did have a lot of baggage of emotional weight from our relationship and stuff. So I kind of stepped back from Digimon for a while, and that's kind of why I didn't want to podcast about it for a while. And then, but I think really the hype for Kizuna, which we can't see anymore, the hype for Kizuna, the movie, and this new series really pulled me back in. But I mean, my boyfriend, he's into Digimon and kept trying to get me to watch it, and I was I don't know. Yeah, so I just wanted to clarify that and make it clear that it wasn't, because that episode, listening back to it, I just sound just sad. We were talking when Ashley and I were talking earlier. She was maybe you just sounded sad because it was early in the morning.
Yeah. When we were recording it, I was Jeff still sounds so sad. And I don't want to bring it up, but what's going on?
It was early. It's still early.
I know. I'm sorry.
And I was also yesterday facing the prospect of having to overhaul the site to get it updated, and I did it. Stayed up until 2 a.m. to do it, but
I know.
The site is
Classic
updatable
Jeff.
again. But that was a one-time thing. It's updatable. We also got some really heartfelt comments. Tokujo on Twitter said, "Never thought I would be nostalgic about a podcast, but hearing you two talking again took me back." And I don't that really hit me, because it's we started the podcast because we were nostalgic about Digimon, and I never thought we would get to a point where people were nostalgic for the podcast. We started being nostalgic for Digimon. You know what I mean? The layers of nostalgia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Getting real.
Even podcasting yesterday morning, maybe it was part of the reason why I sounded sad or whatever, but it did make me feel a little nostalgic too. So it's nostalgic for us as well. And I don't know, it means a lot to me that people are nostalgic for us.
I mean, part of it for me is also that when we started it again, we never thought Digimon was gonna blow up again, and now it's this whole big thing again. They're making new stuff.
We thought it was dying down, and
yeah, whoa, never thought it would last this long.
I also want to give a shout out to Lord Hobbs, who left an Apple Podcast review in January 2020 and just said, "Thank you for existing, but I wish you'd come back." So
Wow.
thank you, and we kind of did. Also, like, I just want to thank Fongola James, Nitwit's World, Lucas Solon, May from Lost in Translation, and Stevie from the Moncast, who all left really heartfelt comments on YouTube, who are excited for us to be back. And thank you to everyone. Also, thank you to my boyfriend Eric, who put up with me, who waited to watch the new episode until like 1 a.m. because I kept saying I needed to get the episode out yesterday.
Oh God.
Just played Persona 5 for hours waiting for me to be done. So cool. Now we're gonna jump back to Digimon Adventure: Digimon Adventure 2020. We're gonna talk about our first impressions. Basically, what do you think, Ashley?
I was surprised by how good it was. I'm not gonna lie.
I was worried. I was like, so my reaction is like glowingly positive. I was worried you were gonna be like, nope, it still sucks. Still shit.
No, no. I mean, it is a little disappointing how heavily it focuses on all the male characters.
Mm-hmm.
Only really Hikari gets any attention in this
And
episode,
barely.
and barely, yeah. So it's a little disappointing. Like the opening and ending are all Taichi and Yamato, and like, okay. But otherwise, I was like, man, this animation is cool. It's really surprising to me how much Taichi, looks exactly the same, but with modern animation, it's like, oh man, he's got so much cooler, like, it's hard to do this without like spoiling, like talking about specific things. But
Yeah. So I was really worried that this, like we mentioned last episode, like I was worried it was gonna be a shallow kid targeted reboot that just like we're reusing the characters because they were money proven characters. And that was the worried worst case scenario. What I hoped best case scenario was like retelling adventure but learning from Cyber Sleuth with like some Cyber Sleuth setting stuff. And it's kind of neither of those things. But I was really impressed. The animation was great. Like I feel like I feel like it did everything that I disliked about Try so much better. Like a lot of the complaints I had about Try were just like execution details, and this just like blew a lot of those out of the water. Like the animation was amazing, like the music was good. It
yeah.
also just felt like a love letter to fans, and
I think it both felt like a love letter to fans, but Asher, well, I'll bring in some of Asher's opinions. Asher was also like, oh, it actually feels like they made it for children, like we're not the target audience
hmm,
in a lot of ways. It felt like, they were like, we respect both audiences, and awesome. Like they updated it for modern children.
yeah, I'm curious to see how that plays out because that's one thing I'm worried that it to me did not feel like it was that great for kids. Like I feel like there were a lot of lengthy, like prolonged scenes that like only carried emotional weight because we were attached to these characters. And I kind of wonder if it was someone's like first impression with Taichi, would they just be like, "Okay, what are you doing?"
What do you mean? Tai Chi's awesome.
No, no, no. I mean, like when there's basically like a lengthy sequence without like any dialogue of Taichi like reuniting with Koromon, not reuniting, Taichi meeting Koromon and stuff. And it's like I feel like that works really well for us because we have emotional baggage between Taichi and Agumon. But like, I'm curious if someone that was their first exposure to them, would they just be like, okay, like what's going on? Like get to the action or something. So I don't know. That's like a minor thing, but I'm really curious to see how this if it does work, especially because we can't really test young kids, but at least we can see
Yeah.
if adults who have not seen Digimon before, if this is appealing to them, which is kind of a proxy for new fans, new kids. The only like first impression I had is it's weird to see this without having like I feel like what felt natural and what I was building, what I was expecting for so long was that we would get to say goodbye to the original adventure timeline with the
Oh, yeah.
the Kizuna movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then we would like, okay, we said goodbye. Now here's a new thing. And instead, it's like, okay, because of coronavirus, we didn't get to say goodbye. Here's new
Yeah.
ones, and that's kind of like. So I feel like before all this came out, it was like it seemed like a weird strategy to have this movie ending their story and then also rebooting their story right away. But I feel like
Yeah.
now I'm kind of like that would have worked so well if we had gotten that experience because it's like now I feel kind of weird getting invested in this alternate Taichi without having that like book closed on old Taichi.
Yeah.
So it's
I guess
both
that's
like
weird.
yeah, it's both like sad that we don't get that experience, and it's makes me respect how they set it up, how we're supposed to experience it.
Yeah. Thanks, COVID-19.
Our special guest on the podcast today, COVID
COVID
19.
19, yeah.
All right, so those are our impressions. I think at this point, if you're listening, you probably already watched it. So, but if you haven't, go watch it. It's really good. I think you'll enjoy it. So, and then come back because now we're going to talk about spoilers. So,
Spoiler
first
alert.
off, the episode starts off with the opening. What do you think of the
Whoa.
opening?
I liked it. I think it's good hype level.
Yeah, I thought I've seen some comments that it's like, oh, it's more generic or like more generic shonen now, and it's like I don't know, maybe it's a little bit generic, but like it's nice.
It pumped
Like
me up, man.
yeah, and I think it's hard to judge an anime opening after hearing it once or twice. Like I feel like you don't really get a feel for how an anime opening feels until you've watched it 13 plus times. So
Yeah.
I think it does play well. The one thing I thought was weird about the opening is how much it's like a solid, at least half of it feels like it's just about Taichi and Agumon. And I was like,
I mean, yeah,
okay, where's the rest of the kids?
that's the biggest problem with both of the songs is that it's like this is supposed to be an ensemble cast, and so far it has not shown me most of the other kids, and I'm like, okay, not not about this.
The ending,
The ending is all Yamato.
right? The ending, there's more mystery there because it's like it was so focused on Yamato. I'm like, maybe they're gonna rotate it and have a different one for each character. But it also was
Oh.
so well animated that I was like, this would not be like a budget saving ending if they had one for every character.
Yeah, no, also it was just so heavily emo. Like it was like a parody of an emo
Wow.
music
Okay, I thought
video.
it was good. I thought,
Oh my god, no.
I mean, I guess
It's
so.
funny.
That's the thing. I feel like it's hard to judge until we know whether that Yamato ending is like that's the ending
Mm.
or if it's like one of several.
No, I guess I didn't consider that. Possible.
Yeah, but I think it has. I think it. I just don't understand. Like, I'd just be blown out of the water if they have an ending that lavish for each character, or maybe if they'll have other endings for other characters where it's more like a slideshow. But like Yamato gets a budget, and everyone else gets a slideshow.
Are you gonna be so disappointed if it's just Yamato?
I don't think I'd be so disappointed. I mean, I'd be like a little bit disappointed, but it's like, okay, they are the main two. So like Taichi gets an opening, Yamato gets an ending. I guess that's okay.
Taichi's opening at least has the
Right,
other
right,
people in
right.
it.
So I don't know.
The ending just has Takeru.
Mini Matt.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think it's hard to judge the ending until we see how if it is one of several or if it's the only one. But I thought it was really well animated, which is not something I usually think about endings. So
I mean, yeah. It's the one that stands out more.
yeah, and I think the opening had lots of really cool shots of animation that I've seen people posting on Twitter and stuff. But I really don't like how a lot of that's with the generic white hexagonal background. That it feels reminiscent of the background from like evolution sequences in Try, what it
Yeah.
reminded me of. But like it just seems sad that it's like this really lavish character animation with this dull background that I've been seeing on Twitter and stuff. So it's like, okay.
It also doesn't go with the show itself of what we've seen of evolutions, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if that's gonna be a background that plays into anything later, but yeah, so the show picks up at Taichi's at home. He's like packing for summer camp while his mom and Hikari are on the train. They're like taking Hikari somewhere or something.
Had lessons for something somewhere.
Oh, she's taking her to lessons.
Yeah, Taichi has a line that's like, I told you should have the lessons closer to home or something.
Oh, right, right. The first impression I had from this was like, oh no, are they not in Odaiba anymore? And by the end of the episode, I'm still not entirely sure.
Yeah, because they're on
Did
the
you pick up on?
Tokyo Loop line.
Right, so yeah, they're definitely on the Tokyo Loop line, but they transfer to it at Shibuya. So like we don't know where they came from, and the scenery around that we see
But
of
they're
like Taichi's
going
apartment.
home, so why would the Tokyo Loop line wouldn't take them?
Are they going home? I thought they were going to the lesson.
Oh, my impression was that they had done the lesson and they were coming back. That was my impression.
I guess it's not entirely clear. Because I did the one thing I looked up was that they later, when they're on the train, like they've having got on at Shibuya, Taichi and Koshiro are talking about getting to Shibuya, and Koshiro was like, "It's 12 kilometers from here." And I googled Odaiba Tokyo Teleport Station to Shibuya Station,
Yeah.
and it was exactly 12 kilometers.
Oh
So,
well, all right, there you go.
so maybe but like there are probably a lot of things in Tokyo that are 12 kilometers away. So who knows?
I'll trust it.
Yeah, so I think maybe eventually we'll see more scenery around them to identify whether it is or is not Odaiba, but I hope it's Odaiba. It'd be weird if it's not Odaiba now.
Yeah, that would be sad.
And then Koshiro knocks on the door and introduces himself. It's very reminiscent of our war game,
Yes.
which is cute.
It's cute, but Koshiro is weirder.
Yeah, I mean it's an awkward interaction because like they just met and he's suddenly like he's basically like, oh, I want to ask you a question on summer camp. Oh, wait, you're watching the news? Here, let me talk about technology. It's like, okay, like
Wait, he also seems so scared to go inside, but then because Taichi's watching the news.
that was so cute though.
Okay.
One thing I really liked about this episode was that it focused so much on the Taichi and Koshiro relationship. I feel like a lot of things about this episode were like took a lot of lessons away from our war game, and that to me felt like one of the strengths of that movie that like it focused at the expense of all the female characters basically.
Yeah.
But it focused on some core relationships. And this episode, I feel like Digimon never only in like a couple arcs did they actually be like, okay, here are two characters sequestered. Now let's see how they interact. And so it was cool seeing the Taichi and Koshiro relationship from scratch. And I don't know, I just like Koshiro starting off being like so polite and like wary to come inside. And it's not even about politeness. He's like shy and nervous. And Taichi's like, oh, just call me Taichi, come in. Like, I was like, oh, that's so cute. They're cute. Cute little children.
I mean, I will be impressed if Digimon can pull off both establishing the Koshiro Taichi relationship via their digital communications and whatever Taichi is doing with Matt or Yamato in the digital world since Yamato is there.
Yeah, so Koshiro is like, like, oh my god, you're watching the news and we talk about technology, blah blah blah. Did you notice that the his tablet says
Is
Tachikawa
Mimi,
technology?
yeah,
Yeah, which
yeah.
is Mimi's last name and is an interesting tweak.
You're like, let's see where that goes. Yeah.
I don't know the full consequence of that, but people are speculating that maybe Mimi in this new series is kind of like a Tomoyo character in Cardcaptor Sakura, where she just
Oh.
is from a family of lavish technology company and can just be like, here's my new gadget that my company came up with.
Ooh, be
Who knows? That'd be
interesting.
cool.
That would be interesting for all them Koshiro Mimi shippers out there. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe he like marries into the company and
Oh goodness, yes. They're like 8. So calm down.
I'm just saying, like, yeah, so Taichi and Koshiro run off to the train station. This is another point I was trying to pinpoint if it was Odaiba or not, because it's like I would think if they're in like the residential area of Odaiba, they'd be going to Tokyo Teleport Station, and this did not look like Tokyo Teleport, especially because they're going upstairs and to the train platform, and Tokyo
Mm.
Teleport would be going downstairs. But it could be the Eureka Mome line, which is above ground. I don't know. Maybe it's not Odaiba. Oh, it's Odaiba. In any
Jeff
case,
is very invested in this being Odaiba.
I didn't think I was, but now I've brought it up like 10 times, so you
You,
know.
yeah, you definitely are. I mean, you're like, how many times have I gone to Odaiba? If they change it, it will all be for nothing.
Show me a Ferris wheel.
Yes, damn it.
So then Taichi hops the ticket gate, gets sucked into the internet. I thought this was a really cool tweak to like integrating the crests into the show this early on and it being like so integral to everything. Like it's integral both to like, you know, like Taichi eventually unlocking Digimon Evolution later, integral to like him getting sucked into the digital world or the net or whatever.
I am very okay. I'm not confused about the distinction between the net and the digital world. That's fine. I'm confused about the level of technology that has been displayed in this world
Oh,
generally.
in what sense?
Like it starts off with the dial-up and internet noises, and I was like, kids don't know what that is. Why is that a relevant thing? The state of
Hmm.
Koshiro's tablet was weird to me, especially when he was just like, it made it more awesome. Like later, I was like, what does that mean, Koshiro? I don't
Yeah, I mean,
understand.
I assume the dial-up was like just a nod to the old ways and like talking about how like the world is connected now. Here's how it started getting connected.
But then the way they talk about the net does not make it sound like some, like everybody knows what the net is in 2020. It didn't come off that way to me.
Yeah, I chalk it up to just like when you're talking about a show where kids get digitized, like it's always you can't represent it like actual technology literally in that sense. Like so like you kind of have to make like a fictionalized version of the internet where it's like more dumbed down. That's kind of how I interpreted it, that it's like, you know, he's not literally going into Twitter.com. He's going into like a virtual reality world, waving hands
Yes.
around, you
He's
know.
going into the loop line system.
Yeah, but yeah, I just like I think it was especially clear at this point where like when Taichi hops over the gate, it's just executed so well. Like again, like harking back to my complaints about Try, it's like it just in the little moments is executed so well. And like just I remember there was a shot that stuck with me of like just watching the ticket gate like close after he left.
Mhm.
I don't know why it stuck with me, but it's little details like that that really blew me away.
I found it very interesting that they kept focusing on. I mean, maybe it's because I've shoujoed too much recently, but like they kept focusing on the bottom half of their faces to convey emotions, to like
Hmm.
show the changes in like their mouth movements and stuff, like in that scene with Koshiro going to Taichi's, and then like later in the episode with Taichi having to like make decisions and whatever. And I was like, this is very much like a weird stylistic choice to me, where in shoujo manga you would focus more on like the eyes, like all you would draw is eyes basically to show
Hmm.
any emotions.
That's interesting. Yeah, I didn't notice that detail at all.
Yeah. that was
Curious.
the compositional curiosities to me. I was like, you're not showing their eyes.
Yeah, so Taichi gets pulled into the net. He like it seems like Corman is basically like having some kind of battle with the Algamon creature thing. Which I guess we should mention that those I don't think they're ever named in this episode, but the enemies they're fighting in this episode are called Algamon. It's kind of a weird Digimon lore thing because
Algomon, like
yeah.
algorithm.
Oh, I hadn't put that together, even as a software engineer, but yes, like algorithm.
Okay. Yes.
Well, I think
Okay.
it's a little bit complicated because when I looked up, I think in dub materials like in games or something, they're called Argomon.
Mm.
But anyway, it's a weird thing because this Digimon design, I think all the enemy like Algomon and what it evolves into later are all original to the show, but it's the same name as the villain in the Savers movie, which that was the only form that existed before. So it's like
Okay.
people are like, okay, this is the like child or rookie form, and then maybe the one in Sabers is like the Mega or Ultimate or whatever. Is what people are speculating. But that's some deep Digimon lore that isn't really relevant to this episode.
I thought they were just like updated Caramon. I mean, they are,
Right,
but I was
right.
just
They're
like,
just
are they
like
just like alternate Caramons?
it's just green Caramon. Yeah.
Yeah, like green freaky Caramons.
Yeah. So it seems like Corman was like fighting those, and I think what they're going for there is that like Corman was showing some bravery, so he got sucked in, and Taichi was showing some bravery, so he was sucked in. I don't know if that's what they're implying there, but like that was kind of the vibe I was getting. But who knows?
Yeah, I don't exactly know why Caramon or Coromon would go fight Algamons, but I guess he's just like, I got nothing better to do.
Yeah. I don't know.
These guys aren't good.
What do you think about that scene of like Taichi meeting Coromon, Coromon digivolving to Agumon? I've seen some complaints that it like Taichi did not feel realistically like shocked or surprised or scared compared to his reaction in the original series.
Yeah,
Did you feel that at all?
definitely compared to the original series, the even with just the names, I remember us having a whole elaborate discussion about like how hard would be for them to keep track of their names. They digivolve all the time. They just have to learn like 50 million new names right there. Yeah, like this Tai Chi doesn't even question that. He's just like, okay,
Yeah, he doesn't even ask Coromon's pronouns. Like
yeah,
that,
what?
that was step one in the original show. Yeah, I do feel like the thing that the original show had that made it feel a bit more realistic is that like Taichi's first reaction to seeing Coromon is like horror and like because like isn't Coromon like on his face and like sucking his mouth and stuff, so he's like freaked out and scared.
Yeah.
And I feel like I think there is a plausible in-world reason why Taichi's not so freaked out and scared by this, because he sees Coromon for like a second and then he digivolves into Agumon, and Agumon's a much more like friendlier design. It's like, oh, this is like a cute companion, not like a head.
Yeah, he's like, I know what a dinosaur is. Okay.
Yeah.
like,
Like Coromon, like waking up with Coromon on your face is very different than like seeing him sitting on the floor and then it becomes a cute little dinosaur. So
yeah, and I kind of liked the scene where they just stared at each other for like 10 seconds. It's like Taichi can't even process what has just happened to him. Like, he's just like, what's going on?
yeah, and I think compared to like I remember one of our, I don't know if it's complaints, but like the weird idiosyncrasies of that first episode of the original show is that it's like you get introduced to 7 kids and then 7 in training forms and then 7 rookie forms
Yeah.
and Kawagama, and it's like a barrage of names, and I'm baffled that like as a kid I actually internalize all of them because I don't understand how I would nowadays, just like being a vampire with all those names at once. But in this episode, they barely use any. Like, I don't think they say do they say Corman and Agumon? I don't remember.
They say Agumon,
Okay.
because Agumon introduces himself after they stare at each other for a while,
Right,
and
like
then he says Agumon. Like Taichi has a moment where he
right
says
when he
it.
like explains that he's a Digimon.
I don't think they said Koromon though. No.
Right. So they kind of sidestep that whole like, oh, do I call you Corman or Agumon? Like that kind of discussion from the original show.
Yeah.
Which I mean, that was a cute thing in the original show, but I feel like they never really talk about that much again. So it makes sense.
Yeah, and then they don't say the name of the evil Digimon at all. Yeah. So.
Yeah, they never say Agumon's name. I don't think they say Greymon's name. Does he?
Nope.
Does he say like Agumon evolve into Greymon? These are details I don't remember and should have looked up before
I
recording.
think so.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think that it does make it more. On the one hand, it's like accessible because it's not throwing you a bunch of names at once. And as dedicated fans, we know all the names, so we don't need it. But especially with Agumon, I did feel a little bit weird not knowing the name after having watched the episode and only knowing the name because of leaks from VJump. Like that's weird. Also, I don't like. I'd actually first heard the name Agumon from listening to the With the Will podcast talk about those news stories from the magazine leaks, and hearing the word Agumon, like I was like, are they just saying Agumon weirdly? Agumon?
But that's why I clarified it with you, because I was like, I don't know what you're saying.
Algomon.
Yeah.
Agumon. Yeah, so algorithm is a good way. Algorithmon and Agumon. Anyway.
Yeah.
So Taichi meets Corman, dissolves into Agumon. Agumon starts fighting. Koshiro Skype calls Taichi and tells him they need to beat other monsters to, fix the problems with the train. Koshiro also got a Digivice.
But we know Tentamon was there.
Right, that's the thing. It's like, it seems like this was like an inciting event where maybe everyone's gotten their Digivice from this, but definitely no Tentamon yet. So maybe we still have yet to see like introductions for the rest of the kids meeting their Digimon or something.
Well, clearly Yamato he already met his Digimon.
Yeah, Yamato's a special can of worms we'll get to.
Yeah.
I thought the Agumon fighting all the Agumon was kind of like seeing Taichi fight along with him.
No, Taichi fighting along was like one of my favorite things.
And he put on his gloves. He had a reason for gloves this time. Did you catch that?
No.
I only caught it because people were talking about it on Twitter. Like it's like a blink and a miss it moment where he packs the gloves because he's going to camp.
Oh, is that what he's doing?
He like
Oh,
pulls them out of his
yeah.
pocket, and it's like,
I didn't know what was
yeah.
happening there. I thought he was, like, making something to fight them, but I see. Okay, that
Uh,
makes a lot more sense.
yeah, he basically pulls them out of his pocket, and you don't see him put them on, but then the next scene he has them on when he's punching. So
Okay.
that's cute, and it kind of explains why with these new designs, Taichi's the only one with gloves on compared to the original one, where it's like just a fashion statement that everyone has gloves on.
I mean, I just liked it because, yeah, I mean, it's like Marcus, but way better. Like, like it shows that Taichi is brave, but he wasn't like, it
Stupid.
didn't feel like, yeah, it didn't feel stupid or rash. It was like, oh, this dude who saved me over here is having a problem. Let me see if I can help, like, and then he wasn't flashy about it. He was just like, okay. He was even tired after the first round or whatever.
Yeah, and like he fights back against the little things that seem like he's capable of fighting back against a little bit, but he doesn't try to fight it like later when we get to the boss battle.
Yeah, no.
He doesn't rush into that
He's
like
not like, let me
Marcus would.
jump
Yeah.
50 feet in the air to punch in the face. No, yeah.
So yeah, the after they seem to beat a bunch of the Agumon, Koshiro informs them that the trains are starting to speed up. Oh, I guess we didn't explain it. Like, yeah, the trains on the loop line are just keep going nonstop. And this is something my boyfriend pointed out. He was like, "Well, what's the problem there? Like, you're just on the train." But I was like, "No, like you can't get off.
Yeah,
Like,
you
if the
can't
trains
get
keep
off
going, you
this train.
definitely yeah. Like that's especially because it seemed like it was like rush hour traffic or like the train was fairly packed." So it's like
Yeah,
being on a train that's never stopping, that's like packed like that. That would be kind of scary. But then it
yeah.
gets even more scary when the trains start to go at different speeds and they're going to crash. So that, makes things urgent and Taichi has to actually do something to solve it. So Koshiro informs him he has to go to the tower and that's where the disruption's coming from. He goes, and then the like one of the Agumon is transforming, basically digivolving to like a champion or adult or ultimate or whatever's a higher stage or whatever. Agumon's turning into the Little Shop of Horrors monster, the Venus flytrap, and yeah, Agumon tries to fight it, then digivolves into Greymon. What do you think about the digivolution sequence?
I like that we do not just go to another screen where it's like they're digivolving and it's like, what does this look like in real time? And they're like, you know what, we'll show you what it looks like in real time, and it's actually fairly horrifying. Like, it's not pretty, like
Yeah,
some grotesque stuff that's going on right here.
I love like the brief moment before he actually like transforms. It's just big Agumon for a second there.
Yeah, yeah. Then I actually thought he was gonna turn. I was like, oh man, is this season gonna deal with how Digimon can have different evolution lines? I thought he was gonna digivolve into Tyrannomon because in the in between sequence, it kind of looked
Oh
like Tyrannomon for a second.
no, I don't like
Uh,
that. I'm glad they didn't do that.
I wanted
Tyra-
it to happen.
Tyrannomon's ugly. Yeah,
Okay, but
go.
then doesn't have to always be Tyrannomon. Okay, whatever. Anyways, like it just really hit home that it's like, oh yeah, wait, Tyrannomon really is just like alternate colored Greymon minus like a skull thing on his head.
Hmm.
But I guess yeah. So I definitely appreciate this leaning into the like horror that is Digimon Digivolution.
Yeah, I think that evolution sequence was the moment where because I thought the rest of the animation up until that point was like it's good. I'm like, okay, this seems like it's like modern, decent animation. But then like in the fights, I was like, okay, this is also pretty good. Like there are moments where they seem like they were showing off. Like there's a moment where Agumon, when it's just Agumon and Taichi fighting, where like Agumon like jumps over Taichi, and I'm like, what are you doing? You're just
Oh yeah.
like both in character Agumon you're showing off, and the animators you're just showing off. But it wasn't until the evolution sequence where I was like, so I'm going to get to this at the end of our recap. But I was like, oh no, we've been spoiled. This is too good to be true. Like
This is too
this is like movie quality, but surpassing it like way beyond try. First of all, and like as
good.
good as the like premium short burst of good quality animation from the other movies, and beyond that, I felt. Um, and it's just like can first of all like, can they afford to do this for much longer, like I don't know. And it was just it looks so good and I'm like, are they going to do this for every maybe it's special episode one thing, maybe it's like the rest of the
Maybe.
evolutions will just be cutting to an alternate nether space where they evolve in the nether space and it's just a sequence like normal. That's possible, but the execution of this episode was great. And yeah, I don't know how much to read into it because I'm like, if this
I
happens for
hope
all of them,
not.
like oh my god, this is huge. If it's just a first episode one-off thing, okay, it was great.
It was great. Limited use.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean it changed the flow of the battle entirely, like you were saying, because it was just like big Agumon, and then like it's like you could attack your enemies while they're evolving and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that's novel about this evolution is that so yeah, I tried to like find other instances in Digimon where the evolution like happens in universe, or we actually see what's happening in real time. And I think the most notable one is in our war game where they try to evolve in like I forget which Diaboromon form, but one of Diaboromon's lower forms just like cancels them and is like, nope, you don't
Yeah.
get to Digivolve. And apparently there's some sequence that might be similar to this in Cross Wars, but I saw people mention that on Reddit, but I couldn't find what scene they're referring to. So if you know what scene that is, let me know in the comments. But so I thought what seemed novel about this one is that it's not just like Agumon to Greymon is canceled midway. It's like Agumon turns into Greymon and then like uses that burst of energy to attack in mid transformation sequence. Like
Yeah.
that was really cool. Yeah, just like so much energy in that transformation. It was just it was great. A lot of this episode really felt like it was a new team of people who like watched or observed a lot of Digimon and then like took the strengths from it and then applied them in very logical ways. Like
Yeah.
what is cool about Digivolution? Okay, let's do that without the trappings of all the other how we've always done it before.
Yeah. It's definitely just like, we're comparing it a lot to our war game, which makes sense. But comparing it to the first series, what makes this one stand out so much more is just like how everything has escalated so much more quickly. Like, the kids get sucked into the digital world in the original one, and they're put in grave danger immediately, like the 7 of them, whatever. But here it's like, okay, so Taichi, your mom and your sister might die, along with like a bunch of other people.
So I think this episode did feel like, in a lot of ways, it was like the same tempo as episode one. Like it's still actually no, that's episode two. So I guess it is on that sense. It is faster than the original season because episode two is when Greymon appears in the original show. But yeah, it
Mhm.
felt in some ways very standard Digimon formula for a new episode of like, oh, the champion evolution gets shown in episode one or whatever. So I feel like at the point where this episode ended, I didn't feel like it escalated super fast.
Really?
When I say by the point where this episode ended, I mean like before the ending song.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And the stuff with Taichi's mom and Hikari being threatened, like this whole episode is very similar to Atmon, like the premise of Atmon, which is also very similar to the third arc of Cross Wars, the young hunters left through time, whatever, where it's like, oh, something is happening in the real world, so let's go into this alternate reality, like semi-digital world, but not really fully digital world space, and then deal with the threat that's causing it in there. Which is very much what happens with the Digicourts in Hunters and the, I think, AR fields in Atmon.
Mm-hmm.
But in this case, it was like, I think the thing that really sets it apart from Atmon is that Atmon was like, oh, these Atmon are causing weird, wacky troubles. And like, oh no, the whole town's like doing this whack. It was very wacky and goofy in a fun way. I'm not saying in a negative way, but like, this is, dire and serious right off the bat. And so, but I feel like structurally, it wasn't like, oh my God, Hikari and Taichi's mom are going to die in episode one.
No, but
But to your point about like it escalating, so it's like they beat the boss Algamon thing, and then okay, this episode hasn't escalated that much, and then Koshiro is like, oh, by the way, our war game is happening right now. Like American missiles are getting hacked. I was like, what the
if
and then
they if they hit
I have to bleep myself out for the
you have
first
to
time.
bleep yourself out. What's you doing, man? Yeah. And he's just
Oh,
like, if they hit, then the whole world will be destroyed. It's like, oh, okay.
I mean, okay, I don't. Yeah, okay. I guess I hadn't thought about it that way. Yeah, it's like the whole world's at risk in episode two. But I was just blown away by like, wait, we're doing our war game, and okay, I assume people have watched. If you haven't, you should watch through the ending song to the preview for next episode. We're going to be discussing that as if it's part of the episode. Sorry if you're trying to avoid the spoilers, but yeah. So in the next episode preview, it's like it's not just it's the premise of our war game. The episode's called War Game. I was like,
Yeah.
are we actually going to our war game in episode two? Like,
They showed like a glimpse of Diaboromon, right, or something?
yeah. So okay,
Yeah.
wait. So I just want to recap the sequence of events because it was like, okay, we beat the first boss, and I was like, okay, they're gonna go back home. Okay, that crisis resolved. But it was like that didn't happen. Instead, Koshiro was like, oh, by the way, America's getting hacked, and I was like, okay, that sounds similar to our war game. That's interesting to do so early on. And then Yamato appears on Garurumon and doing like a menacing rival thing,
Yeah.
which is an interesting direction. We can talk about that later. But I was like, okay, I'm intrigued. And then the ending played. The ending was interesting, whatever. And then the preview was like, it's called War Game. There are shots of things that look at Diaboromon. Like, and I guess we didn't even mention the opening that we see. One of the things I was disappointed about in focusing so heavily on Taichi is that we see all of Agumon's evolutions and almost none of it. I think we see some of the champion or adult stages fighting, but we don't see like they don't get the same like dedicated time that in other endings, other seasons we would see.
Mhm.
So, but one of the things we see up through War Greymon and then Omegamon. So it's like, could Omegamon happen in episode two? Who knows? Like, what is going on?
I don't think so, but all right.
Right. I mean, I wouldn't think so either, but I wouldn't think that our war game would be episode two. Like
It's just the beginning of our, like the middle part of our war game.
that's all of our war game. You mean
No.
the middle part of the movie? Of
Yeah.
the American movie? That our war game was that entire thing.
No, 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 no. It's just gonna be like Diaboromon appears probably like at the end or something.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, okay. So it's maybe it's not like the entire movie of a war game in one episode. Sure.
Yeah.
But like the premise is happening this early on.
Yeah.
And that kind of transitions into my like big topic I've been holding off talking about, which is like that's the point where like it shifted from up until the point I was like, okay, this is really well animated. Oh my god, this is so good. Maybe this is too good to be true, but like this is gonna be a great season, a great reboot of a Digimon adventure. And then when it was like our war game is happening episode 2, I was like, oh no,
Oh no.
this doesn't seem like it's a reboot of adventure anymore. This seems like it's a highlight reel of Digimon.
Mm.
And that worries me because I'm like, is this just gonna be like 12 episodes, like get through the high points of the series and then that's it, and then it's over and then we're done and then that's all we got? Because that changes how I'm thinking about everything.
What if it's like a remake of our war game for like a core and then it goes on to different highlight reel?
I don't think they could introduce that premise in episode 2 and then like have an entire 12 episodes dealing with it, you know?
Eh.
But I mean, we're grasping at straws here, but it's like this episode's premise was very similar to Runaway Lokomon, which is movie 6, the second Tamers movie. And then if
Mm.
episode 2 is very similar to our war game, like they could just be like each episode taking some like I could just see like a team of writers or like a main writer who looked at all of the Digimon content and was like, okay, what were the best ideas? Let's take those best ideas and apply them to the Digimon kids. Sorry, the Adventure Kids. And honestly, that sounds amazing. I'm just worried that it's going to be so short.
Yeah, I mean, I'm as always, I'm worried about these females.
Yes. Okay. That's totally fair. Yeah, I've been so excited about like seeing this Taichi side of the story portrayed so well that it's like just forgotten about how the women always get the shaft.
Yeah, and also Taichi's story still relies on, you know, him like nobly saving his mom and his younger sister. Like
Right. The fact that it's like both the girls in his family are at risk and like yeah,
yeah.
that it's not great. And yeah, if so the thing is I think if this yeah, that really colors my interpretation because if it's gonna be short or long, because if it's long, then I'm like, okay, I just need to wait, sit back and wait for them to give more screen time, have more focus on the female characters. Like eventually Sora, Mimi, and Hikari are gonna have their time to shine. If it's a 12 episode one core highlight reel, they might have like their time to shine might be like a couple seconds, you know?
It might be like at most an episode. Yeah.
Yeah. So, because yeah, that's the thing that I. So yeah. So what? So I guess I want to summarize it. Like, I think a lot of the things that made me blew me away from this episode and maybe like, oh my god, this is too good to be true, make a lot more sense if it's just going to be a short one or possibly two core thing. Like introducing the crests so early on. Well, that makes sense if it's not going to be some like protracted like mystery. Well, of course, it's not a mystery to us now, obviously. So like that's when I first watched it, I was like, they're introducing it so early on because it's not a mystery to the audience anymore. But also,
Who is the eighth digit destined?
but yeah, but also maybe they're just introducing it so early on because it's a short show. Focusing on Taichi in the opening makes a lot of sense if this really is only going to be 13 or 24 episodes or whatever, because they're mostly going to focus on Taichi, maybe. Our war game right off the bat makes a ton of sense if this is a highlight reel. The amazing animation quality, the not having a standard evolution sequence being in world, like that makes sense if this is they're only going to be drawing 12 evolution sequences or something. So I tried to list out like why was I expecting four core? Or why was I expecting like a whole year's worth of Digimon, like a whole 50 or so episodes? And I think it's because like that'd be a lot of meaty content. It would feel like it was truly like a reboot. And I think I was so excited for this series to basically be like the rebuild of Evangelion movies. Like take the original story, start in the same place, but then go in wildly different direction and just like see this wildly different retelling. And it seems like I thought we were at like the convergence of like a renaissance, like a reboot renaissance with rebuilds of Evangelion ending soon. It seems like Final Fantasy VII Remake is going to be going that same direction. I don't know, Ashley, if you've seen the latest trailers, but like
I have seen the latest trailers, yes.
it seems like it's possibly diverging in some ways, big ways. I don't know. So that really excites me.
Will they not?
Wow, Ashley, wow, spoilers.
Spoiler! Oh.
Aerith actually is Sephiroth this time.
Oh, dang!
So I mean, but not even just. Also, one of the main reasons that I was excited for being a long, lengthy season is because I was excited to podcast about it again. Like I was like, is there going to be a full year of everyone being hyped about the series? It seems so good. That'd be so awesome. But I don't know. There are lots of positives if it is a short one or two core kind of thing because, like, you know, Digimon always has lots of extra fat. I don't want to say filler because filler is a loaded word with lots of extra baggage, but like, there are lots of episodes that don't necessarily need to be there necessarily.
With the poop Digimon, you mean?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's hard to look at like in a season like Adventure and be like, oh, cut off these episodes, they're filler. But when you look at Try, it's like there's a lot of padding. Like it could be cut down into something more concise. Like a lot of people watch the tri-bridged YouTube series and are like, this is so much more concise, like, and if fans can make that cut with like a comical dub over it and get to the point better, then like it's a sign that there's a lot of extra padding that didn't need to be there. But anyway, so I think if it is like just like a lean season that gets to all the highlights and like does it like hits it out of the park and is efficient, that's amazing. Like I think that's perfect for returning fans who are on the fence. And that's kind of what I'd heard so many times about Try was that like I know so many. I mean, I work in the anime industry, so I end up having a lot of people who are like were exposed to stuff like Digimon as a kid who are not super into Digimon now, and they're like, "Oh, Digimon! Oh, there's a new movie thing, right? I should check it out." And like they try episode one or movie one, whatever, and then like, okay, yeah, or like they watched movie one when it came out and then like didn't bother with movie two. Or got halfway through and then fell off after movie three. Like even Jacob Chapman, who we had in the show covering think Try chapter 3. I think we had him on. And he recently finished Try so that he could see Kizuna, and like he hadn't even finished Try. Like he's like a hardcore Digimon fan, and it's just there's so many people that like fell off a Try, and I think that was totally fair. Like I think especially for like someone like Asher only kept up with it because of the podcast, right? Like
Oh yeah.
so like there's so many people who yeah, like I think it's totally fair that Try lost them, and if the lesson they learned from that was to be shorter and just be like the best parts, then like that is a fair lesson to have learned. So, and I think it would also make the whole season more rewatchable.
Try has so many problems.
Yes, yeah, Try has lots of problems. Sorry if you're a fan of Try. There are things I like about Try, but you can go listen to like 10+ hours of us complaining about Try if you want to see why we hate it.
I mean, yeah, it makes sense if this would be shorter based on the anime. Even just stereotyping Toei, it's like, are they really gonna animate 50 episodes like this?
Yeah, so that's what I don't know enough about modern Toei to judge that, because if we're comparing it to Digimon, yeah, like Digimon has never looked this good. This is like
Aside from the movies
aside from the
that
movies,
have a
yeah.
higher
What
budget.
did I write down? I wrote down this is like giving an iPhone to people in ancient Rome. Like we're like, oh my god, it's in color. Wow. But like Toei had lots of other properties, and I don't know what Dragon Ball Super looked like, but I think like I did hear plenty of people who were really positive about the animation quality in Super. But I think it also varied over the course of the season. So like I'm not sure if this animation quality is like on par for the highlights of Super. So it's totally possible this is like a lavish episode one, and then the rest of them are much more mediocre.
And then we get to make fun of their faces in the next episode.
Yeah. So it's totally possible this is just like is a long running kind of thing. But we're just picking at tea leaves at this point, I guess. But I feel like there are so many things that were exciting about this episode that how exciting they are or not is kind of dependent on whether it's a long running show or a short highlight reel kind of show. Because the thing that it reminded me of in Try when we see Ken's D3, that's a moment that like I like blew me. I was like, oh my god, I'm so blown away. And by the end of it, I felt so betrayed because I was like, that meant nothing. They like I guess now there is kind of an explanation for how that happened, but like the movie series barely resolved that, and you have to kind of like think about it on your own and do the research to figure out, connect the dots and everything. And it wasn't like it felt like it was a tease for Ken or Digimon Emperor to appear, and I guess they were kind of there, but not really. So like that is what I feel like a lot of the teasers in the things that we're thinking of as teasers in this episode will feel like if they just don't have time to get to all of them, or it was literally just there as a random Easter egg and not a tease for more stuff. Like when Koshiro was looking at his laptop PC tablet thing, and I guess we see his like he has like an interface that says that he's like a first of all, it doesn't say he's a chosen child, it says he's a
It
chosen
says the
child.
chosen
The
child.
chosen children.
The chosen children.
I wish that became canon. I wish people had to refer to them as the chosen children.
Oh my god, yes, I think we should make that happen.
The Digimon Adventure Digimon Adventure 2020 chosen children.
Choosing children. It's canon. You'll have to deal with it.
But it said so. It showed him the crest, and it also gave him like a moniker. Like it said "Wise Man."
Yeah, I saw that.
And that I'm like, oh, cool. Is there going to be like a canon moniker for each of the crest like traits? Maybe, or maybe that was just an interface that we only saw with Koshiro because he only went the laptop. Like, I don't know whether to read into that as like this cool teaser for how we're going to see for everyone else.
I hope they all have to keep using choosing children and keep showing that to us together.
Yes. Wasn't there some similar kind of goof with Taku's
TK's,
blog?
yeah. Yeah,
In
with
the
his
Try
blog.
movies.
Yeah.
Was it Choosing Children or was it something else?
No, it was like Digi Destiny or something.
Oh, it was like a Digi Destiny around the world or something.
Yeah. So from now on, they are Digi Destiny or Choosing Children, y'all. This is canon stuff, man. Okay.
Yeah. So that's kind of my very very mixed and confused feelings about like how to read this episode. And for now, I'm so excited. Like the hype is still flowing through my veins that I can kind of like I feel like I'm picking the best of both worlds, like the Miley Cyrus song goes. But um,
Now I have it stuck in my head and I just see Hannah Montana and I hate you.
so yeah, I don't know. Maybe like in a couple weeks I'll have cooled down and we'll be like, oh well, it was definitely one of these two interpretations, and that kind of sucks. But for now, it's exciting.
Yeah.
Did you notice when they I forget when in the actual episode it showed, but when they flashed to what the other kids were doing, like we saw Joe in school, we saw
Yeah.
Mimi looking at a outfit, we saw
Yeah.
Sora out with people or something.
I don't remember what Sora was doing.
I It seemed like each of them was doing something that was somewhat related to their crest. It seemed like Sora was doing something with other people in maybe a way that is loving in some way. Joe was studying probably in cram school. Mimi was like picking out a dress, which I guess is sincere. I don't know.
I think you're stretching.
Maybe, but Takaru was like looking out the window like
Yeah.
he was hoping.
For Yamato to come back, yeah.
Yeah. Hikari was just like on the train with her mom. And I don't know. Yeah, I think I never really thought about how Hikari is like an analog to Taichi. Like Taichi is kind of like his crest, like the crest of courage is shaped like a sun, right? And Hikari is kind of
Mhm.
like the light from the sun. I don't know. Like there's some
Mm,
thing going on there
mhm,
that I never really connected before.
I wish they made that more explicit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
But when they're showing the other kids, Takaru in his room has a poster of an astronaut,
I
and
did not see that.
yeah, and they don't cut to Yamato, so
Yeah, well, I
that's where
noticed they
he
didn't cut to
was.
Yamato.
He was the astronaut.
No, because he was in the digital world,
No, he was
right?
the astronaut actually.
Oh, okay. All right.
I thought the music was pretty good. We didn't really talk about the music at all.
Oh, that's true. It was very like when Taichi entered the digital world and Corman was getting beat up, it was like so somber, like almost like too much.
Yeah, I think that's kind of moment that I was thinking would probably not play that great for like a new, like a fresh kid audience. It felt kind of like slow and like we were really seeping in the moment in a way that I thought worked well for a returning audience. But I don't know if new people would be like so invested in these characters to care about that emotion so much.
I don't know. I mean, it was still good. It was like epic.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of the comments I read about the episode were people just feeling like things are off because it's weird to see adventure characters and not hear some of the iconic adventure songs like Butterfly Opening and the insert music from the original show. I think to me that, I don't know about you, but like it doesn't feel weird to me because the dub is what I watched most recently. So
Yeah, it didn't feel particularly weird to me.
yeah. And it's possible those, like one of those songs come back in some, you know, really hype moment. That could be cool.
Yeah, and I feel like my most recent association with Butterfly is Try, which doesn't make me hype at all. So don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah. Okay. So now we're going to take some questions from Twitter. So the first one comes from @lazyartist, and they said, "What do y'all read into the new show's opening and ending, mostly focusing on Taichi and Yamato?" So we talked about this a bunch before, but in conclusion, like I think it's hard to totally judge without knowing if these are the only versions of those openings and endings. When I first saw the opening, I was thinking like, because I was still in the mindset of like this is gonna be a 50 episode year round kind of thing, and so I was like, oh, maybe it's going to change each like 13 episodes or so. Now I'm kind of like, I don't know, I'm worried, but the ending is more up in the air because is it going to change? I like that it focused so much on Matt. It was nice. Oh, okay. I don't like, God, what am I trying to say? I don't like that it focused on on Yamato so much, but it was executed well and it was nice for that. I don't think it was so emo.
It was very emo.
It
Oh
was
my
an
god.
appropriate level of emo.
No, it was excessively emo.
That's Yamato. So Koshiro is wise man. Yamato is excessively emo.
Excessively emo child. No.
Speaking of Yamato, one of the big discussion points people are having is that it seems like like the kids need to exhibit some aspect of their trait in order to unlock even champion or adult level Digivolution,
Mm.
and yet Yamato seems like he is not being very friendly, and Garurumon is there as a champion slash adult. So I hope that's not a glaring pothole.
He's
We'll see.
been friends to the digital world, to other Digimon. You don't know.
I mean, also part of Yamato or Matt's like complexity with friendship was always that like he can be antagonistic with everyone else, with all the other kids, and be really good friends with Gabumon, you
Yeah.
know? So like it's plausible that he hates all the other kids, hates Taichi or whatever for whatever reason. But met Gabumon is such good friends with Gabumon that worked out. Like that's
Yeah.
what happened in that climactic, like the War Greymon versus Metal Garurumon fight.
I don't feel like this is contradictory. Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll see. The second Twitter question came from Andy Lucas, and so they asked, "What differences do you want to see between Adventure and Adventure: Adventure 2020?" Hmm.
Well, they're already so different. It's so hard. I don't know. I mean, before watching this episode, I would have said, "Can you better Hikari?" But I don't think they will. So scratch it off, I think, yeah, from what we've already seen, it would be nice to see more relationship building in less weird ways, I feel, than adventure, like less padding than adventure or whatever.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have expectations. I don't know.
Yeah, I hadn't really like theorized exactly how I wanted to see it be different. Like what I was hoping for was like better animation quality, solid writing. I didn't really have a vision
Yeah,
of what that meant for solid writing.
vague notions.
Yeah, and even when we recorded yesterday, I was kind of like very pessimistic about that actually being the case. That it would actually be solid, but I was really like there wasn't anything like stellar about the writing of this episode, but it just felt like coherent, like,
Yeah,
and that was after try very surprising.
yeah. Just
And
felt
I,
good.
yeah, and it just felt like like the evolutions were happening because of plausible things that were like it just in lots of little details felt like it was logical. There was no moment where I was like, why is this happening? And I think there are inherent to the concept of Digimon some moments that is normal and we just have to accept as weird and move on. And this felt like it was just a higher quality. So
Mhm.
that's kind of the best I was hoping for, and it was that. So yeah, and I guess the only other thing I hoped for of a difference between the two of them was a difference. Was there to be something that made it like feel
Yeah.
separate enough that it was worth watching?
Yeah, I was like, please don't just be adventure, but like modernize.
And yeah, like I mean I have very conflicted feelings, but like if this is like taking all the like a new team of writers looked at adventure or at Digimon as a whole and took what they thought were the best concepts of it and reapplied them, like that sounds great. So
Yep.
yeah, I didn't really have any other specific expectations for differences between the two. I do kind of want to chime in about I forgot to mention this before, but talking about whether the show is going to be long or short, like there's no definitive word about how long this show is going to be airing. There's lots of rampant speculation. I think the best like data point is based on TV airing time slots, and so basically the slot that this show is airing in is the same slot that Dragon Ball Super was running in a couple years ago, and then when Dragon Ball Super ended, it got replaced by Giga no Kitaro, and then Giga no Kitaro ended for Digimon to start, and no one like we don't know what the next thing in the slot is, so but there is a new Dragon Quest anime slated for October that feels like the kind of thing that could be in this time slot. So I've seen some speculation that that is what could be an indication of how long this show's going to run, if that's going to be the same time slot.
It would be too cool.
Right, yeah, that'll be two core. But that leaves like that's still there's still plenty of if that is the case, which who knows if it is. If that is the case, there's still plenty of possibilities. Like it could be one core of Digimon, one core of something else, then Dragon Quest, and then Digimon comes back like two cores. Like it could be a split core, like Digimon airing this spring and then again in the next winter or something. It could be Digimon airing for two cores now and then Dragon Quest and then two cores again later. So for a four core total. There are so many possibilities. It's even if that's true, like there's so much up in the air. And I don't know. So yeah,
Yeah, you just love speculation too much.
I mean, I just wanted to bring it up as like the only there is like a vague possible data point out there, but I think that data point doesn't really illustrate an answer. So yeah. Final thoughts, Ashley. What did you how would you rate this episode?
Hmm. I mean, it was like an enjoyable Digimon episode. Not something that I'm like, oh my god, I want to watch it like 50 million times. But like, I would give it like a solid 4.5 out of
Which one of those
5.
two? I had to enter it into. You just had three numbers.
I said out of 5. I had
Oh,
to
okay.
clarify.
I thought you were saying 4, 4.5, 5. I don't know.
No, it's not getting a 5.
Wait, so is it a 4 or a 4.5?
Ugh, you can give it a 4.5.
Oh, okay, that's the number I was going to give
All
too.
right.
Because yeah, I feel like this is a very good, solid Digimon episode.
It leaves me with some trepidation though, yeah.
Yeah, it leaves me with some trepidation, and I feel like it's not like it was the best Digimon episode, so I kind of want to weigh it a little bit lower because of that. But I feel like it has so much potential and is like actually accessible for people. It's not like it doesn't carry the baggage of like watch 20 episodes of Atmon to get to this one stellar episode, or watch like 30 crappy crosswords episodes to get to this one stellar episode. There's no baggage like that. It is potentially like something that people could watch right off the bat and get into, and that's exciting and boosts up my rating a lot. So but it wasn't like perfect. So I don't want to give it a 5, but 4.5 I think is
Yeah.
pretty solid. And people should know that on the Podages website, you can go there if you go to the episode page for this podcast, you can rate the episode. And that's just cool to see what listeners of the show think about the episode. You can also leave comments there and everything. So special thanks to X Tyrannomon for our Agumon logo, which was supposed to be for Data Squad and is still kind of fitting, even though you can see the
Definitely the Death Squad.
yeah,
Not
I don't
gonna
know what
lie.
you call it, like the fist things, the thing on his fist.
Straps
Yeah, the
that
strap.
he
So it's
has.
definitely Data Squad, but I'll go on still relevant. Please leave a review for the podcast on Apple Podcasts. You can also subscribe to the podcast there and also on Spotify or wherever else you listen to podcasts. Follow the podcast at Pottages on Twitter, Tumblr, or Facebook, and share the podcast with your friends who keep video chatting with you after you disappear and get absorbed into the internet. So, Ashley, where can people find you on the internet, and what else are you up to outside Digimon?
You can find me at ashmcd00 on Twitter. I also make shoujo manga podcast called Shoujo and Tell. It's at Shoujo and Tell on Twitter and like Instagram and Tumblr or something. I don't. There is a Facebook page, but I don't like update it.
Thank you, Ashley, for coming on. This was
Woo.
an exciting episode.
We did stuff.
Yeah.
Made some jokes.
So I kind of I wanted to have you on early because I thought you were gonna be you were gonna check out episode 1 and then be like so disappointed that you weren't gonna watch anymore. So
No.
I guess you're gonna keep watching.
Yeah, Asher's also pretty hype. He's like, I guess we have a new Saturday night routine now.
All right, and I am definitely Jeff on Twitter, and you should check out my general anime podcast, Love It or Leave It, where we cover new anime and decide whether it's worth watching for people who are not hardcore weebs. So stay tuned next week for episode 2. Bye.
Bye.
And remember, never stop digivolving.
虹を見つけたいなら顔を上げなくちゃって差し出された手が僕らをずっと強くする夢を掴みたいなら震えその一歩前に踏み出してごらんよ今ならきっと空を飛べるから
Oh my god, the hack is like so. They're basically 2 sites now.
Awesome.
Like all the images are on the old site, which I can't change, and then all the new
I
stuff's on
see.
it.
So yeah, and you were just like, look at the new one.
Well, yeah, so it's like I redirected all the domain name stuff to point to the new one, but then all the images point to the old one, and then there's just
Oh god.
messiness and making sure that like old content looks at the images of the old place and new content looks at the images of the new place. So yeah.
Excellent. That's awesome. I love
Yes,
it.
it's a mess. Yeah, I really am excited for 7 Remake to diverge. I don't love the way it's diverging in a way that's like more explicit about Zack. Or sorry, I don't like the way that Aerith is like, oh, soldier, just like the
Yeah,
person I
she
loved before.
definitely like says it overtly.
Like that. I like it diverging, but I don't like it being like so winky in your face about Zack. You know, like
I remember that she liked Zach first.
oh boy.
Oh.
I was watching that trailer with Eric, and he was like, "Who's she talking about?" And I was like, "Because I guess like the fact that she like Zack wasn't really mentioned aside of Crisis Core, and he has my Crisis Core, so
Yeah, no, I mean it's not that explicit in the original game.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so back what were we talking about?
Bye. Don't you mean episode :2:adventure 2020 or war
Yes,
game?
Digimon
War
Adventure, Digimon Adventure: Digimon Adventure 0. Oh, what? The full title of the show: Digimon Adventure: Digimon Adventure 2020. Which
episode 2.
I'm worried people won't get the joke and think I actually think it's called Digimon Adventure: Digimon Adventure 2020.